Hello and welcome to our Retire Early lifestyle. When something doesn't sit right with you, what do? Do you just let it go or do you investigate further? Let me show you something, and then I want you to be your own judge and discern and assess the situation as you deem fit. Let's have a no-nonsense talk about this. Our first country we're going to talk about is Mexico. Just because you don't see crime happening or you don't hear about crime in the news doesn't mean there isn't any crime. So let's just get that out of the way right off the bat. Crime in Mexico is widely considered underreported, and especially in tourist zones where they fear tourism could drop off. More than 90% of crimes were not reported, according to Insight Crime. And it is a sad fact that many Mexican citizens are afraid to report crimes against them in fear of retaliation from the bad apples. So I want you to keep this in mind, that around 90% of crimes go unreported in Mexico. Okay, now let's continue. Let's take the serial killer murders of 3 women in Puerto Vallarta. Puerto Vallarta authorities probe link between murders of 3 women. So I'm just going to ask our viewers a question. If 3 women were brutally murdered in similar circumstances within an 11-day time frame in Sarasota, Florida, would you think that Sarasota is a safe place for women alone? Now, it's just a question, but think about it carefully as we continue. We're going to come back to this in a moment. Mexico's biggest English language news outfit wants to let English speakers know they now have a new way to engage crime in Mexico. And so they're going to provide you with the real statistics now. They say to forget about what the legacy media and the U.S. travel alerts have to say. Just watch our expat surveys and allow the expats to tell you what crime is doing by how they feel. Now, normally we love the truth given to us right from the horse's mouth, but sometimes if the horse has a lot to gain from stretching the truth, the horse will do just that, stretch the truth. And in this case, we're sure we're hearing it straight from the fox in the henhouse. With data from hundreds of foreign nationals living across Mexico, we can now replace antidote with evidence. They're saying that feelings from the expats providing services, businesses, and real estate to you will be the new crime gauge for Mexico. It's going to replace antidote with evidence. So why the need to replace anything in the first place unless you're wanting to manipulate? Doesn't it sound suspicious? They're replacing antidote with evidence? And excuse me, since when does a feeling of safety take the place of facts, statistics, and evidence? This is a bit off. They're saying that their perception of safety is the real evidence, and all you need to know that Mexico is safe. Well, let me show you what I'm talking about. How safe is Mexico according to its foreign residents? The survey results are showing an 88.97, which is almost completely safe, which is almost 100%. So the foreign resident expats that live in Mexico say they feel very safe. I have to be perfectly frank with you. I feel safe walking in downtown Detroit or Chicago during the day too, don't you? In fact, I probably feel 100% safe walking in downtown Chicago during the day. And I have friends in Pittsburgh that tell us they feel safe walking around Pittsburgh during the day, but they wouldn't go do it at night. Now, here are the areas of Mexico where expats took the survey and they said they feel safe. San Miguel, Puerto Vallarta, Ajijic, Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Mazatlan. These are the 6 biggest tourist destinations where Mexico receives most of their tourism and foreign residency. Now, let's go back to my initial question. Would you feel very safe walking alone in Sarasota, Florida, if you knew there had been 3 women who were brutally murdered in similar ways in a span of 11 days in May of 2026? And actually, in Puerto Vallarta, there have been 7 murders of women since the beginning of 2026. That's about 1 per month. Does that feel like a perception of safety to you? Mexico's serial killer may be responsible for stalking and murders of women in popular resort town. The body count has climbed to 7 women murdered across the state of Jalisco. Approximately 1.5 million Americans live in Mexico, and many of them are involved in various businesses. A significant number of these expats are engaged in selling products or services. This trend is especially prevalent in areas with large expat communities, like the 6 cities we just talked about. Now, here's the businesses that expats are involved in Mexico: retail, services like real estate, tourism, and consulting, and food and beverage, operating restaurants or cafes that cater to expats. These businesses often thrive due to the demand from fellow Americans living in Mexico. The same folks that provide expat real estate, tourist rentals, Airbnb rentals, tours, and consulting services are filling out the surveys for the new safety scale of Mexico. Do you see why we said earlier that facts are being replaced by statements directly from the fox in the henhouse? By the way, Jalisco State, where Puerto Vallarta is located, has been given a level 3 reconsidered travel by the U.S. State Department. So there you have it. We just showed you the facts versus the vested interests. Mexico is a country that underreports crime greatly. 2, has a possible serial killer on the loose in Jalisco State that has already killed 7 women. 3, besides the regular street crimes, robbery, and homicides of Mexico, there is cartel fighting amongst each different factions all over in Mexico. Number 4, the State Department has warned reconsider travel in the popular tourist state of Jalisco. And 5, the biggest English language newspaper now gauges crime by how expats feel. So we're going to let you be the judge and discern and assess the situation of crime in Mexico as you deem it fit. Because frankly, we're tired of people telling us that we're just trying to keep them from moving abroad. Now it's your turn, and you be the judge. Tell us what you think in the comments. Our second country on the list is Ecuador. There are right now vested interests heavily promoting and recommending Ecuador as the place to move in 2026. The peddlers love to say how crime is getting better in Ecuador, but we know that is not the case. That's nonsense. In fact, according to the data, crime is getting worse in Ecuador, but we're not vested interests, and so we can tell you what's really happening. Crime hasn't gotten better overall in Ecuador in 2026. Reports and recent data continue to indicate high and or rising violence tied to organized crime, especially homicides. Ecuador continues to face high levels of violence driven by organized crime. Coverage of the trend notes that homicides have risen sharply in 2025, and there are no signs that gang violence will subside in 2026. The world in data shows homicide rates have increased steeply in recent years, consistent with a deteriorating baseline entering into 2026. Just to be clear, the peddlers are recommending Ecuador to expats, okay? And the recent crimes in Ecuador that have involved foreign expats are extensive and horrific. Kidnapping and extortion, armed robbery and home invasion, murder and assaults, street and property crimes, drug-facilitated robberies, sexual assaults and rapes, especially in tourist areas. Just remember, when you know the facts of what is really happening in a country as far as crime, and someone is recommending that country to you, they are a vested interest. But in our humble opinion, they are much worse than that because they are leading people into a very risky situation. And there are pumping channels right now that know they can't hide the crime, so they're talking about the crime, but at the same time, they're sweeping it under the rug, telling potential expats basically to just ignore it. Shame on you. We made a video showing the facts that 6 of the highest crime cities in the world, yes, in the world, are located in Ecuador. So go figure. And there are rumors that the criminals are now using drones to case out expat houses in expat neighborhoods. Yes, in Ecuador and elsewhere, you're the target.
The owner of that property heard a drone, flying over above. So, they're getting into some of this technology to scout some of these places out, which is concerning too. Quite a bit.
Doesn't
Yeah.
make you feel safe when someone's kind of peering over like the top of your house
Yeah.
or like looking in. Like that's not
Right.
good
You
feeling.
hear a drone flying over. That's probably not a good thing because these are just regular homes. There's nothing of touristic value or anything like that for somebody to gain a drone video from. So it's in all likelihood surveillance from somebody scouting out your place. So.
Even the Retire Abroad media took Ecuador off their top 10 global index for best place to retire when the violence got out of control. And so when vlogging peddlers peddle in unsafe countries such as Ecuador, it is really suspicious. We call it vested interest. But you be the judge. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. And our last country is Spain. We'll start right out with the housing market that's down. Spain housing market 2026, price declines. Housing prices in Spain have declined in more than 20 cities. This is the typical pump and dump happening with the housing market in Spain. When Spain was wooing million-dollar golden visa investors, that was the pump. And we told you then that the first ones in and out are the early bird that gets the worm, and that's how it is in real estate anywhere in the world. 1 in 5 property sellers on the Costa del Sol and Costa Blanca have to slash asking prices as stubborn buyers refuse to blink. This is the dump. Expats are trying to dump off their property in Spain. Why are buyers refusing to blink is because the market has come down, and it's a little bit of a buyer's market right now in the touristy areas of Spain, although the market is still too high. Expats that didn't get in early enough often overpaid for their real estate. Now they're trying to sell and having to drop their prices substantially. You can try and hold on to it for a while to see if the market will go back up. But Spain is going through some bumpy times right now, which causes expats to sell and new buyers to drop off significantly.
The gringo vicious cycle that we've discussed previously, when it comes into full swing, the crime rates spike. The prices spike and the crime rates spike. And when the crime rates spike, the gringos flee. When the gringos flee, the prices pop.
So why are some expats selling their property in Spain? Well, crime's going through the roof. Spain's crime is surging. We all know why Spain's crime rates have risen so substantially in the past 6 years. Spain's socialist Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has approved a really great plan. Expats move to Spain for the free or cheap universal health care, and we've been saying for 15 years that other stuff goes along with that, and that other stuff could potentially put you in harm's way. This is what we mean when we say there are trade-offs. What are you willing to give up in your home country to move to a foreign country? You want to move to Spain for free health care? We're just informing you of what else is going on where your free health care is. So yes, there are irregular issues happening all over in the EU right now, and Spain is receiving a large brunt of it. We can simply ignore it and pretend like it's not happening, but that's very hard to do. Very hard to do indeed, especially if you are a resident in a country where these things are happening. I'd be selling my home too. There's a lot of robberies and home invasions of expats in Spain right now. The streets of Barcelona are chaotic and dangerous. It's not a place you would say is peaceful, and you probably wouldn't want to call it home either. So is there any wonder expats are selling their Spanish property? This is just some of the recent stuff, according to the Olive Press Online Spanish News. 3 arrests made over death of 88-year-old British tourist out celebrating his birthday with his wife in Tenerife holiday hotspot. He died from head wounds caused by a violent robbery. Girl 16 has her drink spiked during San Juan celebrations in Malaga and suffers horrific abuse. That's someone's young daughter. My gosh, how horrific. Could you imagine being the parents of this little girl? British couple returned to find squatters have taken over their holiday home and police tell them to spend the night in a hotel. Welcome to Spain. So let us know what you think about moving to Spain for the free healthcare, pretty landscapes, and ocean views. Do those things make all of this other stuff inconsequential? Just opening your eyes to the expat world. People do not know what they're getting into. Take care, everyone, and bye-bye.